OpenAI just released their newest model, and it is freaking insane. So they are calling this OpenAI-o1, and this is based on the mysterious Strawberry or Q-Star project. And yes, this is way smarter than any other model I've used. So in this video, I'm going to rigorously test out o1 in coding, reasoning, problem solving, and more. I'm going to show you its benchmark scores, I'm going to show you all the things it can do, but also talk about its limitations. So let's jump right in. First of all, let's start with this chart. I think this is the most impressive. So the orange bar is o1 preview. This is what we can use right now. And I'll talk about how you can use o1 preview in just a second. And then the pink bar is o1, which is not out yet. But I want to first draw your attention to these three categories. All right, so the first one is competition math. This is the AIME, which stands for not artificial intelligence, but American Invitational Mathematics Examination. This is a very prestigious math competition for high school students. It's known for its very challenging problems that require deep problem solving and creativity. So this ain't just your regular high school math problem, but really complex problems that most people don't even know how to solve. And in fact, students often have to prepare extensively through math clubs or training camps in order to do well on this exam. Now, the green bar is GPT-4o. This is already the leading model out there in the world. So if you look at this LMSys leaderboard, this is where users can rate different chatbots based on blind tests. You can see that overall, the latest version of ChatGPT-4o is ranked at number 1. It is the leading model out there. So that's the green bar. And note just how much better o1 is in the math competition compared to GPT-4o. It just crushes it, not by just a few percentage points, but by a few dozen percentage points. This is an insane improvement. So that's the AIME. Next, let's talk about code forces. This is also a world-class competitive programming platform, and participants need to solve really complex algorithmic problems under a time limit. So achieving a high percentile in code forces is first of all really hard. Only a very small number of people can actually do this in the world, and this means excelling in complex problem solving and coding skills. This is at a level that surpasses many professional programmers. And again, the green bar is GPT-4o. This is already the best in the world in terms of coding. But you can see o1 just crushes GPT-4o. Again, not by just a few percentage points, but by a huge margin. So I think with this chart, one could easily say programmers are cooked. And then here is the GPQA Diamond. This involves science questions at the PhD level. This involves a really deep understanding of scientific concepts, and you need to use critical thinking, reasoning, and problem solving in order to answer these questions. Again, not a lot of people in the world can actually solve these questions. So here's GPT-4o. This is actually not bad. It had more than 50% accuracy. But again, just looking at o1, it destroys GPT-4o. And look at the green bar. The green bar is an expert human. This is someone with a deep knowledge of scientific concepts, and they could only do, on average, 69%. So scientists, researchers, professors, you're cooked as well. Here's what they wrote in the blog. We show that o1 significantly outperforms GPT-4o on the vast majority of these reasoning-heavy tasks. o1 greatly improves over GPT-4o on challenging reasoning benchmarks. So here are more benchmark scores, and I'm going to go over these in a second, but benchmark scores aren't everything. So first of all, I'm going to show you how to use it, and then I'm going to test this out myself and compare this with one of the leading competitors out there, Claude 3.5 Sonnet. So you can decide for yourself which one is better. All right, so here's how you can use o1. By the way, I'll link to this article in the description as well so you can read the full article. So it says here, GPT Plus and Team users will be able to access o1 models in ChatGPT starting today. So here they say both o1 Preview and o1 Mini can be selected manually in the model picker, as you can see here. And at launch, weekly limits will be 30 messages for o1 Preview and 50 for o1 Mini. So that means you can only use 30 messages per week for O1 preview. And then also we are planning to bring O1 mini access to ChatGPT free users. However, they did not specify when. So you do need to have a paid Plus and Team plan in order to use this. So it's pretty simple to access. All you got to do is under the model picker. In the dropdown, you should see O1 Preview and O1 Mini, which is a smaller version, but still super powerful model. Now, I've heard some reports that some paid users from other countries, especially those in the EU, still do not have access to this. So it seems to be limited to certain countries as of right now. So if you're in one of those countries and you can't use O1, even though you have a paid ChatGPT subscription, there are other sites you can use it, such as Poe. So this is Poe.com. I'll link it in the description below. And if you click on more and then you search for O1, here you go. You can use O1 Preview and O1 Mini. Now, this also does require subscriber access, so you do need to pay a monthly fee to use it. Another option is Chat LLM by Abacus AI. They are a long-term sponsor of this channel. So this is another platform where you can use and compare different chatbots. And they've also just added O1 and O1 Mini. In fact, I'm going to use Chat LLM to test out O1 in this video. So let me click on O1, and actually what I'm going to do is split screen this. So on the left, I'm going to test out O1. On the right, I'm going to use Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which is considered one of the leading models out there. And then I'm going to test out a series of prompts in both coding, math, reasoning, etc. so you can see for yourself which one is better. The first test is make the game Tetris using Python. I'm going to click run for both of these and test out its result. Now note that Claude 3.5 Sonnet blurts this out really quickly. And this is what happens for all the chatbots that we use right now. It just blurts out the answer immediately. Whereas for O1, it actually takes some time to think of the answer. So there's a few seconds of delay. I'll talk more about its limitations and when you should and should not use O1 near the end of this video. But anyways, I already like this response a bit more because first it's reminding me to pip install Pygame. Not all users have Pygame installed. Now, assuming I already have Pygame installed, which I do, next let's copy this code and then paste in the code in an empty Python file and then click run. Let's see if this works. Oh my goodness, and it crashes. Now, by the way, I have not seen any other AI model get this zero shot. So all of the leading models out there, including GPT-4o, including Claude 3.5, they could not get a fully functional Tetris game in one shot. All right, so let me give this one more chance. I'm going to copy this error and then paste it back in O1 and see if it can give me a better response. Again, notice how it's taking a few seconds to think through its answer, and I'll talk about how it does that in just a second. All right, so let me copy this revised code and then select all, paste it back in here, and then we'll click run again. And now, finally, this works. All right, let me put this. So let me actually play this, and if I press up, yes, the shape does change. It does rotate the shape if I press up, and then let's see what happens here. Yes, the line does disappear. So this does work. Let me show you one more time. Let me try to make one more line disappear. Bam, there you go. So now let me try to lose the game. I'm just going to stack everything until it reaches the top and see what happens. Bam, the window closes and it's game over. It was able to get this after I pasted in the error. All right, next, let's try Claude 3.5 Sonnet. So I'm going to copy this code and then paste it in VS Code and then click run. And it looks like we have an error. So let me also give Claude 3.5 Sonnet a chance. I'm going to copy in the error and then paste it in here and click run. Again, I've tested this prompt before with Claude 3.5 Sonnet and it was not able to get this zero shot. So I'm not surprised that it also failed in this case. All right, so it gave me a revised version. I'm going to copy this code and then paste it back in VS Code and then click run. Oh my goodness, and it still was not able to get this. Let me check, is this the same error as before? So this is line 208, line 92. So the line number is different, but it's the same error. So shape position, convert shape format, current piece, shape position, convert shape format, current piece. All right, I've already given Claude 3.5 another chance. It was not able to get this correct. but O1 was able to get this after one more prompt. So for this test, the winner is O1. Let's start a new chat, and then let's make this even more difficult. So the prompt is make a 3D game like Minecraft using Python. And let's see if it can get this in 0 shot. Again, notice that Claude 3.5 Sonnet, as well as all the other AI models out there, they just blurt out the answer instantly. But O1 actually takes its time to think through how to respond. And this might actually be a drawback. If you want a really quick answer, O1 is not for you. I'll talk about how this actually works in the back end and when you should and should not use it. Alright, so again, I like O1's answer a bit better. It's assuming that I have no experience in 3D game development. I have no idea what these engines are, so it's actually telling me, well, I can consider one of the following engines. In this example, we're going to use this engine, so I'll need to pip install this first. Note that for Claude 3.5, it did not remind me to install this. So let me copy this, and I will paste it in the terminal to install. Alright, after that's done, I'm going to copy this code and select all, and then paste it in here. And note that it also gives me instructions on how to use it. So I can use these keys to move around. I can use the mouse to look around. I can use a left mouse click to place a block, right mouse click to destroy a block. Wow. And then next steps to expand this basic setup. I can add different textures. I can implement algorithms to create terrain features, etc., etc. But let's just go ahead and run this first and see if it works. Whoa! And if I move my mouse, yes, I can look around. This is freaking amazing. And if I press the WASD keys, I can also walk around. Now let's say I select a square here and I left click. Yes, it builds a block. Let me left click again on top of that, and yes, it also builds a block. Now let me right click, and yes, it destroys a block. So here we have a fully functional Minecraft-like game in just one prompt, 0 shot. Now let's try the code for Claude 3.5 Sonnet. So I'm going to copy the code, paste it in Python, and it also works. So if I move my mouse around, I can also look around. And if I press the WASD keys, I can move around. Now let's say I select a square and I left click, it builds a block. And if I left click on that again, it builds another block. And if I right click, it destroys the block. So very impressive. Claude 3.5 also crushes this in just one prompt, 0 shot. Alright, let's try another prompt now. Thanks to the sponsor of this video, UPix. Their version 2 just came out, and I must say, this is one of the most realistic AI selfie generators I've used. UPix has made it dead easy for you to generate high quality, realistic images of yourself or anyone else in just one click. It works on desktop as well as on your phone. You don't need to install any apps or anything, it just works straight from your internet browser. Simply select a template, and then upload your photo, and then click Create. It's as easy as that. And look how realistic the results are. There's many templates for you to choose from and more to come, so check it out at upix.app. So this is a math problem. It's actually not too hard to solve. It's just a simple algebra problem, but because the answer is a fraction and not a whole number, sometimes when the LLM attempts to verify its answer, this prompt might throw it off into an endless loop. So let's see if O1 can get this correct. So the prompt is John is twice as old as Mark. In 5 years, the sum of their ages will be 65. How old is each person now? So let me click run on both of these. And again, you can see that Claude 3.5 Sonnet just immediately blurts out the answer, whereas O1 actually takes its time to think through its response before giving you the answer. Anyways, both of them got it correct. So here's O1's response. Mark's current age is indeed 18.33. Mark's current age is 36.66. And in fact, in the conclusion, it even gave me this in terms of years and months. So here it says Mark is approximately 18 years, 4 months. John is 36 years and 8 months. And Claude 3.5 also got this correct. So John's current age is 18.33. John's current age is 36.66. And if you round it to the nearest whole number, the answer is this. So both of them got it correct. Alright, next prompt, give me 10 sentences that end in the word bubble. I'm not sure why, but this prompt really throws off some of the leading AI models out there. So let's see. O1 nailed this. All 10 sentences end in the word bubble, and it even bolded the word bubble for us. Now, Claude 3.5 did not actually get this correct, so the third sentence ended in bubbles instead of bubble. Really close, but not exactly fully correct. Alright, here's an infamous prompt. Which number is bigger, 10.11 or 10.9? Now the prompt used to be 9.11 or 9.9, but just to give it some variability, I've changed 9 to 10. Let's see if both of them can get this correct. Oh my goodness, so Claude 3.5 Sonnet actually got this wrong. It says 10.11 is bigger than 10.9. I don't think that's correct, but I'm starting to doubt reality now. And then O1 says the number 10.9 is bigger than 10.11. Finally, it got this correct, and I am not going crazy. 10.9 is indeed bigger than 10.11 because 90 is greater than 11. So that's a point to O1. Alright, here's a prompt that also tends to throw these chatbots off. So the prompt is: a farmer and a sheep are standing on one side of the river. There is a boat with enough room for one farmer and one sheep. How can the farmer get across the river with the sheep in the fewest number of trips? And I think if a human just reads this intuitively, the answer is, well, it can just take the sheep and go through the river in one trip, right? The boat has enough room for one farmer and one sheep. So let's see Claude 3.5's response first. Farmer takes sheep across the river. Farmer returns alone. Farmer crosses the river alone. What on earth? So already it kind of misunderstood the problem, I think, and it got the answer wrong. So it gave me all these steps, and then it concluded that the total number of trips is 3, which is not correct. The answer should be 1. In fact, it says there's no way to accomplish this task in fewer than 3 trips. That's really weird. And here, O1 gets it correct. So here's the step-by-step plan. Farmer and sheep both board the boat together. Farmer pilots the boat across the river with the sheep. They disembark on the opposite side of the river. So therefore, this method requires only 1 trip. And that is indeed the correct answer. So again, the point goes to O1. Here is a hallucination test. So the prompt is: describe Stable Diffusion 5 in a short paragraph. Now the correct answer is Stable Diffusion 5 does not exist. So it should answer that it doesn't exist and not give me any description of Stable Diffusion 5. And actually, surprisingly, both of them got this correct. So O1 says my knowledge cutoff is in October of 2023. That's crazy. Is that true? If this was its knowledge cutoff, then that might mean that OpenAI has had this O1 model or this technology for quite some time now. They've just not released it yet, as they claim. And actually, this kind of aligns with the facts, right? So this mysterious Q-Star project was leaked in November of 2023. 1 month after this was supposedly finished training. That's crazy. It all kind of aligns with the timeline that we know of. Anyways, it did answer this correctly. As my knowledge cutoff is October 2023, Stable Diffusion 5 has not been released. If Stable Diffusion 5 has been released after my last update, it likely includes advancements in image quality, speed, and feature set over previous versions. Perfect. And then Claude 3.5 also answered this very well. I apologize, I don't have accurate information about SD5. With a knowledge cutoff in April 2024, I don't have confirmed details about versions or developments of Stable Diffusion that may have occurred after that date. So that's a pass for both of them. Alright, now the infamous prompt: how many R's are in the word strawberry? And here is Claude's response. To answer this question, I don't need to use any special tools. Well, alright, hotshot, let's see if you can answer this. So it answers there are only 2 R's in the word. Oh my goodness. So Claude 3.5 does not get this correct, and also O1 does not get this correct. It also answers there are 2 R's in the word strawberry. That's just crazy. This is now a PhD level LLM that can beat most programmers in the world, most mathematicians in the world, most PhD students in the world, but it still can't count the number of R's in strawberry. In fact, let me start a new chat. Let me try O1 Mini and see if it also fails to answer this. And again, it says there are only 2 R's in the word strawberry. So either it is wrong or I'm the crazy one. But no, if I count, there are 3 R's in the word strawberry. That's just crazy. I'm not sure why all these large language models cannot answer this prompt correctly. correctly. All right, next prompt is to test out its strategic thinking and planning. So the prompt is, you are tasked with organizing a week-long summer camp for teenagers. The camp includes various activities such as sports, arts and crafts, and educational workshops. How would you create a schedule that balances these activities, keeps the campers engaged, and ensures their safety and well-being? So let's click run for both of these and see what we get. Now note that there is no correct answer here. I just want to get a sense of how it would think through this problem and look at the quality of its answers. So here is O1's answer. So this is the step-by-step plan. Here is what it needs to do. So step 1, establish camp objectives. You gotta first define the goals, determine the primary aims of the camp, such as promoting physical fitness, fostering creativity, etc., etc. Age appropriateness, ensure activities are suitable for the teenager's age group. And then step 2, gather camper information, interest surveys. If possible, survey campers beforehand to understand their interests and preferences. This is actually a very good idea that I haven't seen any other chatbots suggest. And then also special needs. Yes, you also need to identify any campers with special needs and accommodate them appropriately. And then here's where we get into the bulk of the planning. So core activities, sports, arts and crafts, educational workshops. Design daily schedule structure. So morning sessions, schedule physically demanding activities like sports when energy levels are high. Afternoon sessions, plan creative and educational activities when weather might be hotter and energy levels dip. And then evening include relaxing events like campfire, storytelling, or a talent show. Again, this is a very good suggestion that I haven't seen other chatbots output before. It's actually considering when to schedule the activities based on the time of day and the energy levels of the participants. And then step 5 is to balance the activities, so rotating, ensuring campers have opportunity to participate in all types of activities, mixing groupings, combining interests, incorporating safety measures, well-being, etc., etc., etc. All right, and then finally, we have the detailed schedule. So on Monday morning, this is what we do. And yes, this is what I would like to see. First of all, we should start with a camp orientation and icebreaker games, introducing everyone to the staff and camp rules. I've tested this prompt with other chatbots in my previous videos, and they were not able to suggest that I should first start with an orientation and probably some icebreakers and introductions. They just jumped straight into, doing the sports and activities, which is not correct. And so Tuesday morning, start with sports, afternoon, do some educational workshop, evening, team building games, all right. And then Wednesday, hiking trip, and then afternoon, arts and crafts, evening, movie night. And this is actually planned very well. If I were to do these 3 things in one day, I would also start with a hiking trip first. And then Thursday, here's morning, afternoon, evening. Here is Friday. And then look at this. It also incorporates, some final activities such as final sports events or team challenges, and then a talent show performance. And then for the evening, a farewell party and a reflection circle. Again, there's no right answer here, but so far, this is the most impressive answer I've seen out of all the chatbots out there using this prompt. And wow, there's even a post-camp follow-up where you gather feedback to improve future programs, and you share memories by providing campers with photos or a camp newsletter. Damn, this AI knows how to run a business. All right, let's see the response of Claude 3.5 Sonnet. So, all right, step 1, determine the daily structure. It should look like this. Identify activity categories. It can look like this. So there's sports and physical activities, arts and crafts, educational workshops, etc., etc. Plan the safety measures and staff requirements. Okay. And then here's a sample daily structure. Wake up, do morning exercise. But whoa, wait a minute. Wake up at 6:30 a.m.? I can't wake up that early. Are you kidding me? I would really hate this camp if I had to wake up at 6:30 a.m. every day. Anyways, here's the daily schedule. So, all right, Monday morning, team building exercises, camp orientation. Perfect. So Claude 3.5 also was able to incorporate camp orientation and, some introduction probably for the first day. And then also in the evening, we have some welcome campfire and s'mores. However, for the afternoon, there are sports and arts and crafts. This kind of doesn't really go together. I'm not sure why it's mentioning both of these activities at the same time. And then Tuesday, also in the afternoon, swimming plus a drama workshop. I think that's too much. I think we should just do one or the other. Anyways, this keeps going, and it looks like this extends into Sunday. And then Sunday, we also have a final team challenge. We also have group reflection and a farewell celebration. Very nice. So Claude 3.5 Sonnet also incorporates activities that we should do at the beginning and at the end of the camp. And then here it says incorporate safety measures, plan for contingencies, prepare staff and materials, etc., evaluate and adjust. And I do see how, here it says conduct a post-camp evaluation, similar to what we see for O1's response. So not bad. I'm also quite impressed by Claude 3.5's response. However, if I were to give the point just to one of these, I do prefer O1's response a bit more. All right, next prompt, how many basketballs could fit in the Empire State Building? And again, there is no correct answer here. I just want to see how it would think through the problem and calculate the answer for me. So while O1 is still thinking, let's look at Claude's response. So first, Empire State Building volume. The building is not a simple geometric shape, but we can approximate it as a rectangular prism for our calculation. So here's the approximate height, width, and depth, which gives us roughly 3.26 million cubic meters. Now, the standard basketball has a diameter of 9.5 inches. Volume of a basketball is this many cubic meters. So if you divide the volume of the building by the volume of the basketball, you'll get this many basketballs. However, it's important to note that this is a very rough estimate, and we haven't accounted for the internal structure of the building. Yes, of course, there's going to be floors and walls and elevators and office supplies and everything. You can't just divide the volume of the state building with the volume of a basketball. And also, perfectly packing spheres into a space leaves gaps, so the actual number would be less. So, this calculation above assumes filling the entire building, which isn't practical or possible, so a more realistic estimate considering these factors would be closer to 100 or 200 million basketballs. Alright, that's a decent response, but it's a really rough estimate. I'm not sure why it chose 100 to 200 million. I wish it would explain further. Now let's look at O1's response. So it also calculates the volume of the building first. The height excluding the antenna is this tall. The base dimensions are like this. So assuming that it is a rectangular prism, we get this as the volume. And then volume of a basketball is this much. So without considering packing efficiency, you divide the volume of the building with the volume of the basketball, you get this many basketballs. Already there's a discrepancy here with Claude's answer. So this is 445, this is 381. But again, there's no correct answer here. I just want to see the quality of its response. Now here it says we need to adjust for packing efficiency. So spheres cannot occupy 100% of the space. The most efficient sphere packing, known as close packing, fills about 74% of the volume. So actually, you got to account for this, which gives us only 282 million. So I like this new bit of information, this efficient sphere packing, this 74%, which was not given here. And then, however, that's just its conclusion. It says approximately 282 million basketballs could fit in the Empire State Building. Note that this is a simplified estimation that doesn't account for interior walls, floors, and structural elements. So I would like for it to also give me just an estimate accounting for these interior elements as well, which it did not do. So it's really hard to pick a winner here. I would say both of them answered this quite well. All right, next prompt, again, this is to test out its strategic planning. There's no correct answer here. I just want to see how would it plan this out. So the prompt is, imagine designing a small studio apartment. How would you arrange the bed, kitchen area, and workspace to maximize space and functionality? So while we wait for O1's response, here is Claude's response. So it should be a multifunctional furniture, including a Murphy bed or day bed that can be used as a sofa during the day. Use a dining table that can also serve as a desk for your workspace. Very nice. Vertical space utilization. Install floor-to-ceiling shelving units, use wall-mounted cabinets to free up floor space, and then kitchen area, opt for a galley-style kitchen along one wall, and then we have some recommendations for workspace, room dividers, clever storage solutions, etc., etc. So here's a possible layout. And then here's one point that I really like. Color and decor. Incorporate mirrors to create the illusion of more space. With a really small studio apartment, adding mirrors really does make it seem like you have more space and more light. So awesome idea. Here's a possible layout. It's just repeating most of the points from above. Place a Murphy bed or day bed against the wall opposite the kitchen. When folded up or used as a sofa, this creates a living area. I also like how it's placing the bed against the wall to make it seem like there's more floor space. And then here's some more info. And then for the room divider, instead of just placing a wall, which would make it seem way too small, instead it suggests using a bookshelf or decorative screen to separate the bed area from the rest of the space. So very nice. I do like this suggestion. Alright, now let's look at O1's response. It also suggested to use furniture as dividers. Arrange furniture to create distinct areas without walls. It also suggests some multi-purpose furniture such as a Murphy bed or sofa bed and an extendable or foldable table. It also has some really good suggestions for the bed in order to maximize floor space of the studio. For example, placing it in the corner, using a loft bed, and using underbed storage. And then for the kitchen, it also suggests using compact appliances, vertical storage, using a kitchen island, and then yada yada yada. And then also for light and color, it also suggests placing mirrors to reflect light and create the illusion of more space. So as I scroll through this, it looks very similar to Claude 3.5's response. Again, it's hard to pick a winner here, and there is no clear answer. Let me know in the comments below which one you prefer. Final prompt: if you're in an elevator that's falling, can you save yourself by jumping up at the last second before it hits the ground? Let's see its response. So while we wait for O1, let's look at Claude's response first. This is a common myth. Unfortunately, jumping at the last second would not save you. And this is due to relative velocity. So when you're in a falling elevator, you're moving at the same speed as the elevator. Jumping up doesn't cancel out this velocity. And insufficient force. So the force you can generate by jumping is minimal compared to the momentum of the falling elevator. So here it says, even if you could jump at the exact right moment, you'd still be moving downward at almost the same speed as the elevator. So instead, what you should do is lie flat on the floor on your back. This helps distribute the force of impact over a large area of your body. Alright, and here is O1's response. So it also says it would not save you from injury or death. And here's why. First, insufficient jumping speed. The max speed a human can jump is about 3 to 5 miles per hour. In contrast, an elevator freefall could reach speeds much higher. And so for physics, both you and the elevator are accelerating downward at 9.8 meters per second squared due to gravity. Jumping upward would only reduce your downward speed by a small amount. And then conservation of momentum, it does not change the overall momentum since you're pushing off from a surface that's also falling. And then it also suggests what you can do if you encounter this scenario. So you can lie flat on the elevator floor to distribute the force of impact over a larger area of your body. So that's the response from both these chatbots. Let me know in the comments which one you prefer. Alright, so that covers my preliminary test. Now let's look at how this actually works behind the scenes. So as you could tell after I prompted it, it actually takes a few seconds to think through its answer. So it doesn't answer you immediately. If you're asking it a simple question, like what's the capital of Italy, then it's actually not suitable to use O1. O1 is used for more strategic planning or reasoning or thinking. For example, solving a really complex math or science problem. And here's how it works. So it says their large-scale reinforcement learning algorithm teaches the model how to think productively using its chain of thought in a highly data-efficient training process. So basically, this is kind of like ChatGPT, but on top of it, they added this reinforcement learning algorithm. At a very high and basic level, reinforcement learning looks like this. So here we have the agent or the AI model. It does a certain action in an environment, and then from that action, it either gets a reward or penalty. So for example, if it gets the answer correct, that would be a reward. If it gets the answer wrong, it would be a penalty. And if it incurs a reward or penalty, well, it updates the policy of the agent. It basically updates the rules or the memories so that it remembers next time how to answer it correctly and avoid penalties as much as possible. So that's reinforcement learning at a high level. They basically overlaid this on top of a large language model. And this reinforcement learning step teaches the model how to think using chain of thought. And then this sentence is quite complicated. So we found that performance of O1 consistently improves with more reinforcement learning, train time compute, and with more time spent thinking, test time compute. So what exactly does this mean? So I think this diagram by Dr. Jim Fan from NVIDIA sums it up pretty nicely. So here are all the chatbots and LLMs that we use today. You need a lot of compute to train and produce the model, but when you use the model for inference, so this is for example when you prompt it on ChatGPT, it uses relatively little compute, and it just blurts out the answer immediately. Now, how O1 works is slightly different. It actually also uses compute when you're using it for inference. In other words, when you're prompting the model. And if you also add compute in this step, in other words, if you just give it time to think through its response and evaluate and verify its answer, it actually improves the quality of its output. And this is what O1 is using right now. So here's what Jim Fan said. A huge amount of compute is shifted to serving inference instead of pre and post training. And that's what I've mentioned here. So for O1, we're also using a decent amount of compute for inference to improve the quality of the response. By rolling out many possible strategies and scenarios in the simulator, the model will eventually converge to good solutions. The process is a well-studied problem like AlphaGo's Monte Carlo tree search, which I covered in this video. So it seems like in this step, it's doing the same thing. It's actually looking at multiple different scenarios, multiple different answers, and then through this algorithm called Monte Carlo tree search, it's choosing the best path forward. And so that's exactly what's going on here. Here it's breaking down a complex problem into multiple steps. And then for each step, it can think of a ton of different solutions and it would evaluate, well, which solution or scenario is actually the best path to take. And then from that, it would choose to proceed with a certain path. And then again, it would plan out all the different scenarios that would happen if you took this path. And then from these different scenarios, it would choose the best path forward and it would repeat for the next step and the next step and the next step until it gives you the answer. So this is exactly what Monte Carlo tree search is, and this is the algorithm that's used by AlphaZero to beat the best chess and Go players in the world. But instead of playing board games, they're overlaying this algorithm on a large language model. Now for this video, I just did a very preliminary test. I don't think I did it enough justice, so here are some other cool examples shared by other users. So from Noam Brown, this is really interesting. So here's the prompt. If block C is on top of block A and block B is separately on the table, can you tell me how I can make a stack of blocks with block A on top of block B and block B on top of block C without moving block C? And actually the answer is impossible. But for other chatbots, they just try to give you an answer even though it's impossible. They just make something up. So this is like a hallucination test. But you can see for O1, it can say no. So it says it's not possible to create the desired stack without moving block C. And here is a complicated genetic question. So make a diagnosis based on the following report. So here are all the phenotypes and excluded phenotypes. And you can see here it thought for 13 seconds. And then based on these features, it predicted that KBG syndrome is the most likely diagnosis. That's pretty insane if you think about it. And I think this comment sums it up pretty nicely. So OpenAI's OI thinks for seconds, but we aim for future versions to think for hours, days, or even weeks. Inference costs will be higher, but what cost would you pay for a new cancer drug? For breakthrough batteries? That's pretty insane to think about. And like I mentioned before, if you give it more time to think through its answers, you give it more time to go through this Monte Carlo tree search to think of all the possible scenarios to take at each step, then it could very well come up with new scientific discoveries or new drugs or new battery materials. This is all within the realm of possibility. Here's another example shared by another user where O1 has the ability to say no. So here the task is SQL generation, but for a question that is not answerable using the provided data. So O1 would answer, given the current schema and tables, it's not possible to determine, etc., etc., etc. Whereas for GPT-4o, it just proceeds to make up an answer. Here's another post. So this user gave O1 an international math Olympiad problem. These are some of the hardest math problems in the world, and it was able to get it right. Both GPT-4o and Claude 3.5 Sonnet got it wrong. So here's the prompt, here's the question. I'm 2 too dumb to understand what this even means. But again, this just reinforces these benchmarks, which show that O1 crushes GPT-4o in competitive math, competitive code, and PhD level questions. Speaking of benchmarks, let's also look at a few other benchmark scores that they shared. So GPT-4o is in green, and then in red is the O1 improvement. Look at how insane these improvements are for example, math and chemistry and physics. And then look at LSAT. This is the standard exam for law school admission, and it scored 95.6%. It's safe to say lawyers are so cooked right now. Now, as I've mentioned in previous videos, take these benchmark scores with a grain of salt, especially since these are scores that are provided by OpenAI, and I would really like to see the benchmark scores from an independent third party. Here's a result from Artificial Analysis, which provides independent analyses of these AI models. So you can see the green bar is O1, and for MMLU, it does outperform GPT-4o. And then same with GPQA. These are graduate level problems, and O1 crushes GPT-4o. Another good independent benchmark to refer to is LiveBench by Abacus AI. And you can see here, O1 is in first place, and by a huge margin. Interestingly, what they found is that it's not that good at coding. In fact, Claude 3.5 Sonnet is actually better at coding than O1 Preview. However, it dominates for all these other benchmarks like reasoning, math, data analysis, and language. Final thing I want to mention is the pricing. So, as I've shown you already, O1 Preview is way slower than all the other models out there because it does take a few seconds to actually think through its response. So like I said, if it's a simple question like what's the fastest animal in the world, what's the capital of France, don't use O1. You're gonna just waste tokens, you're gonna waste compute. It's just not necessary. O1 is for more complex problems that require multi-step thinking and reasoning. And look at the price of this. So O1 Preview, as of right now, costs $26 per 1 million tokens, whereas GPT-4o only costs $7.5, Claude 3.5 Sonnet only costs $6. So this is way more expensive. However, keep in mind this is not for everyday tasks. How much would an enterprise company pay to use this insanely better language model to amplify their business? How much would doctors or researchers pay this to potentially help them discover a new drug? So anyways, that sums up my review of OpenAI O1. Hopefully that gives you a sense of how to use it, how it works, what's the pricing, what it's good at, and what you should use it for. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of this. If you've gotten a chance to play around with it, what are your thoughts on it so far? Do you feel like this is noticeably better than all the other AI models? And what's your use case for this? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so let me know in the comments below. As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week. I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel. So to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.